Welcome to EconoChat. Let's talk business with Mr. Daniel Steinman and myself, Elsabe Tibinyani, as your hostess. Last week we did talk about a very interesting topic, but also it has come to it that it actually also has become a very sensitive issue, and I am referring to SMEs in Namibia, and also, the budget allocation in terms of how much is availed for the SMEs to take loans through the banks, but also bringing it back, like we spoke earlier off air, Mr. Daniel Steinman, poverty is a serious issue in Namibia. Yes, of course, in the rest of the world, but we are keeping it here because we are Namibians. So we need to start talking about these type of things, how poverty really is affecting us on a daily basis. Now, of course, there has been a budget that was set up, the national budget, and money has been allocated. I even spoke about it a few days ago in regards to poverty and the national budget. Money has been allocated to so many organizations that falls under the ministries. But have we seen any difference in the past, say at least 10 years? Because for me, Mr. Daniel Steinman, personally, I think that we are really going into a dark hole, because I feel as someone that was born before independence, I feel that now that I'm actually working for my own money, I think that I'm suffering more. I don't know if you can maybe agree or not.
Elsabe, good morning, Elsabe.
Oh, good morning. Well, this topic is a very sensitive topic.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, listeners. Elsabe, I specifically want to talk about poverty because I am under the impression that there is not sufficient open public debate on poverty.
Definitely not.
When we talk about poverty, we tend to either over-rationalize it, we drown it in statistics by quoting us percentages of so many people lifted out of poverty, and this is the one side of the spectrum. The other side is a beggar thy neighbor approach to poverty, in the sense that we don't, or I think we fall short of helping people to help themselves to come out of poverty. And when I make that statement, I know it's very vague and very broad. But the thing is, if we want to talk sensibly about poverty, we have to look at where it starts. And it starts with the budget.
Yes.
And few people realize that the poverty issue, or at least a large part of the solution to pervasive poverty in Namibia, comes from the budget. And the two most important issues there is the allocation to health and the allocation to education. Now, in the second part of our talk, I will discuss education separately. I want to talk about health now.
Okay.
Education, I think get the biggest allocation, and health get the second biggest allocation. So these are, and I think the two together take up about 34%. So it's more than 1/3 of the entire budget just goes into these two functions, health and education. But let's look at the reality of someone who is poor, and now we're talking about the majority of Namibians. And there are various gradings of different levels of poverty. Elsabe, this is all academic. How do you tell a small 5-year-old child that you have to go sleep on an empty stomach, you have to go to bed hungry, there is no bread, because we are classified as a little bit below the poverty line, or abject poverty, or all this, it becomes academic. It really becomes nonsense, unusable. Also, if you look at health, we are celebrating, I think it's on the 7th of April, World Health Day. It's organized by the World Health Organization. So this is, the point I'm making is that health is not just a Namibian issue. Wherever you have communities, health is an issue.
Yeah.
Because health and poverty are like brother and sister. They very close cousins. You don't separate the two. You know, if people live under constant poverty, their health is impaired.
Definitely.
And it happens in a million ways. Whether there is cough syrup for a baby with a cold, which a family cannot afford, or whether they go to a government clinic and they get Panados for everything. You know?
Everything.
Yeah, if there are Panados.
Yeah. Also.
Yes, you know, or whether they've got an employer that helps them to go get some medicine. You know, we don't realize the reality of having to sit in a queue for a whole day with a sick child on your lap without any really substantial food for that mother to give to that child while she's waiting to see a nurse or a doctor or some kind of health practitioner, you know. And if she's got to work and she has to take that child to a clinic, she loses that day at work. You know, this is the reality, and this is what when we talk about poverty and a policy to chip away on poverty. This is the realities, the everyday stuff that we need to consider. So, and it all comes down to how do we spend the money allocated in the budget for health.
Because we have been working on poverty eradication for the past years. But let's quickly go for a short break, and once we come back, we will continue talking about poverty and health, but also touch on poverty and education. Let's go for the short break.